My days in heaven on earth. I was a little nervous. I don't know how others started. I just want to tell you what's in my heart and what happened to me in the past year. A few months ago, I got an inheritance. To be more precise, it's a small villa. Although it's not big, the location is good. People said that although it's secondhand, it can be worth 6 or 7 million. I didn't expect that from now on, I can be considered a rich man and no longer have to make a living by selling my face and body. This villa, of course, was not left to me by my deceased parents, nor was it given to me by any guest, but by a good sister of mine. Yes, she died. She committed suicide by cutting her wrists. When I heard that she had died, I was not surprised. I had a hunch long ago that the man would definitely push her down this path. At most 1 year, at most 2 years. In the end, it was exactly right. She had been with him for less than a year when she died. When I saw her, she was lying upright in the middle of the morning hall. There was a black and white photo of her hanging in the middle of the wall, smiling beautifully. But I heard that it was not like that when her body was found. The bed was full of blood, her naked body was soaked in blood, her hair was sticky with blood, and her eyes were rolled up, as if she had died with her eyes open due to an injustice. Before she died, she wrote me a short suicide note, saying that she would leave the small villa under her name to me and thank me for taking care of her all the time. Apart from that, there was only one sentence. "Rose, I'm sorry, I have to go first. I can't stand it anymore. If I continue like this, I would rather die than live." I absolutely believe that she was not exaggerating at all when she said this, because the last time I saw her, she was like that. She was living a life worse than death. I just didn't expect that I would be able to receive it so smoothly. Although the villa was under her name, it was given to her by someone else. I thought that the man who gave her the villa would definitely not agree to it. I didn't understand legal matters, and I was thinking whether I should find a lawyer to ask for advice. Surprisingly, he didn't say anything. I think, on the one hand, that little money didn't mean much to him, and on the other hand, he didn't care about anything else. When the man found her body, he was so sad that he almost went crazy. I heard that he cried for a long time while holding the body. When the police came, he was still crying and they couldn't pull him away. He is powerful. His father is more powerful than him, and the police can't do anything to him. They can only drag the body away after he cries enough. I feel very sad now, really sad. With this villa, I can sell it and live my life comfortably, but I still feel sad. Life is so fragile, and death is so close to us. I used to think that we who are alive should know the meaning of life. But now I have tragically discovered that we are the prostitutes of fate, and it has prostituted us all. Everyone says that Tianya is a good place where you can talk about your own things without any scruples. Because there is no truth or falsehood, no right or wrong here. If you tell the truth, others may take it as a lie. If you tell a lie, others may still think it is true. This is the best, so I can have fewer scruples. So now I, a woman who has nothing to do but has no worries about making money, also want to talk about some of the things that the sister and I have experienced and about what happened between us and those men. Please forgive me. I dare not mention the names of those men, because any one of them can kill me with just a flick of his little finger. Also, please do not guess the secrets behind the story casually. After all, no one wants to cause trouble for themselves. I tell this story because I don't want those who died with her to be buried in the ground forever. That would be too pitiful. Therefore, this is the only way to forget and remember her. This is the only way to forget and remember her. I don't want to tell my story. I only want to tell her story, but to tell her story, I have to tell my story. My past is like a festering scar, and when it is opened, blood and flesh will fly everywhere. So, dear viewers, you can imagine how uncomfortable I am at this moment. Whether you believe it or not, Just treat it as a story. However, this story may make you feel a little sad. I used to be a hostess in the best nightclub in Beijing, which was ordered to close for rectification a few months ago. The mommy who took us there didn't tell us when it would reopen, but only told us to go home and wait for news. I don't care whether it can reopen or not. I don't care anyway. I don't want to go back. There are a lot of rumors about our place. Some are true, some are false, some are exaggerated, and some are too light. Anyway, I won't do it anymore, so I'll tell you some of the things I saw and heard. What I said may not be comprehensive because we have not seen everything. It is like being a small employee in a big company. You can't know the inside story of all the senior executives, right? It is the same for us hostesses. Without further ado, let's get back to the point. Everyone thinks that place is so great, that the people who come here are all dignitaries, politicians, and business leaders, that the ladies are so pretty and well-educated, and that even the waiters have a master's degree. Really, every time I hear these words, I want to laugh. Let's talk about college students first. Actually, most of them are just exaggerated. Those so-called top girls are just high-class prostitutes who have some culture or pretend to have culture. The beauties from art schools and foreign language colleges are even more deceptive gimmicks. The girls themselves dare to brag about them, and outsiders who don't know the truth also follow suit, just like the hype of celebrities, a trick to raise their own status. I always find it strange that such a trick can fool people. To be honest, if the young lady's words were believed, a sow could climb a tree. In short, the rumors outside are really exaggerated. However, there are indeed some who are college students. Most of them come from rural areas or remote small cities. There are very few local people. At least I didn't meet any during the time I was there. Some people say that people with status play with prostitutes differently from vulgar people. It is indeed different. Do you know where the difference is? Vulgar people playing with prostitutes will make you feel disgusted, but rich people playing with prostitutes will make you feel scared. Because many rich people are perverted. Maybe they are not perverted at ordinary times, but they become perverted when facing the ladies, like werewolves. But they only come out when the moon is full, but here basically they will show their teeth when they are drunk, and they will do it very quickly. Some people also said that even the tip for the waiters here starts from 500, and some waiters are prettier than the ladies. This is true. My sister is a waiter. To put it more directly, she is a kneeling waiter. The salary is not bad, but she is the lowest level here. I am a sitting waiter, which is better than her. Before posting, I have been thinking about how to deal with the issue of names. Anyway, I dare not say my real name. Let's call my sister Cece. Cece is 1 year younger than me, in her early 20s. She is very pretty. I think I am pretty and I am the best among the girls in my group. But she is prettier than me, with fair skin and a good figure. She is the kind of woman that men will have wild thoughts about as soon as they see her. I am a woman. When we took a bath together, I felt moved when I saw her beautiful body, not to mention those fine girls. Men with worms in their brains. When those men tortured her, they especially liked to bite her breasts and pinch her thighs, often leaving her covered in bruises and purples. Every time she came back, she had to lie in bed for the whole day, which made people feel chilled just thinking about it. In addition to her beauty, she also has something very attractive. Her eyelashes are very long, and her eyes always seem to contain a pool of water. At first glance, she is a very clear and clean girl. Just standing there, no need to say anything, the man will lose his soul when he sees her watery eyes. She really shouldn't be in that kind of place. She is really a college student, studying art, full of knowledge. If it weren't for tuition and living expenses, she wouldn't work in such a place. It was also because of her beauty that the manager arranged her in the box upstairs to serve those men of distinguished status. And it was here that she met those wolf-like men. I have been in the entertainment industry for a few years and have heard of or seen many perverted men. Some like to hang up the girls and have sex with them. Some like to burn cigarette butts on the girls' breasts and backs. Some like to let the girls give them oral sex in public. And some like to take the girls to a deserted place and gang rape them. However, I have never felt so sorry for any humiliated sister. Because she was different. She had never been greedy for fame and fortune. At that time, she just wanted to concentrate on graduating from college, get a diploma, find a decent job, and then support herself. But once you enter this circle, you have no say in many things. To put it bluntly, who treats prostitutes as human beings? Most customers think that the waiters in nightclubs are the same as prostitutes, all prostitutes, and basically anyone with money can play with them. It was the weekend, and there were fewer customers than usual. Cece and I were in a private room. I sat at the table, and she served. Kneeling service requires the waiters to kneel when they come in or go out, and they must kneel when pouring tea, wine, lighting cigarettes, and ordering songs for the guests. The purpose is to make the guests feel like emperors. The waitresses all wore the same attire with very short skirts, and you could basically see their underwear when they were kneeling, which was very erotic and even a little bit mean. Anyway, here, men are kings and women, whether you are sitting, kneeling, or lying, are all playthings. At first, I didn't know who the guest was that day, but he was very important. Before entering the house, my mother told us that the guests in the house were all very powerful and asked us to be smart and not offend them. There were more than a dozen of us who went in, and only 6 stayed. If no customers turned over their cards, the rest had to go on stage. Walking on stage is very particular, no less than the appearance of peaking opera actors, and it is the biggest test of a lady's beauty and charm. What kind of customers you can meet and whether this customer will become your regular customer in the future depends on this appearance. I won't go into details about this. Men who often go to nightclubs understand it. Anyway, we ladies were particularly docile that day. We drank when we were asked to drink, sang when we were asked to sing, and let you touch us if you wanted to. There was a very flamboyant person who looked less than 30 years old. He was decent looking with a high nose bridge and long, bright eyes. He was quite handsome, but he was hard to get along with. Except for the person who didn't talk much, the other older people praised him and spoke to him according to his expression. We knew at a glance that he was a lord. All of us ladies surrounded him like holding the moon, singing, pouring wine, sitting on his lap, making him happy, and after a while, everyone got a little drunk. They became more and more presumptuous, reaching their hands under her skirts to touch us. In short, their true colors were exposed. The man I was with was a bit bald. He put his pig's hoof around my waist and kept saying that I looked like Zhang Zi, a Chinese star. I smiled and stuck to him and said, "You are right. In fact, Zhang Zi is my sister and I am her sister. We have the same mother and slept in the same bed when we were young." He looked at me and said, "Why don't you let your sister protect you? Isn't it better to be in the entertainment industry than here?" I said, "What's better? She has to sleep with the director, the producer, and the investor. She can sleep however she wants. I am so good. I am a prostitute. I can go out when I want to, and I can't go out when I don't want to. I am freer than her." The bald man smiled and said, "This girl is quite interesting." Then he put a fat pig's hoof on my thigh and touched it all the way up. Although his fingers are thick, he is quite skillful. I can tell he is an old hand after trying it. Seeing that I was trembling, he put his fat mouth on my neck, kissed me from time to time, and deliberately teased me with words, with a very lewd look in his eyes. The atmosphere is tense, and some people said they were hot and asked for water. Cece quickly knelt down to pour them mineral water. A man with glasses said it was not cold enough, so she added ice cubes to each cup. At first, it was nothing, but when she handed the cup to the Lord, He suddenly grabbed her hand drunk and insisted that she drink with him. She quickly explained that there was a rule in the place that waiters could not drink with guests. But the Lord was very arrogant and said, "That's easy. I'll call your boss and let him talk to you." He said this very calmly, without any rush, and it was definitely not bluffing. I was disappointed at that moment. This man must have an unusual background. None of the people in the room were simple, but no one dared to confront him. Seeing that Cece didn't agree, Lord said with a big tongue, "Then just be direct and name a price. How much for one night?" Cece was so anxious that she was about to cry. She kept explaining that she was a student and didn't do that. Who knew that he would raise his hand and slap me and then start cursing? "Stop pretending in front of me. What's wrong with you being a student? Don't you know where this is?" This slap stunned us all, and no one dared to say a word. We all know what this place is, but it's not a small black place. There is never a shortage of girls here. If you don't do it, there are still plenty of beauties waiting to be picked by customers. There is no need to do it. But Cece was unlucky. She happened to meet a fierce and cruel man who she couldn't afford to offend. The Lord asked again, "Are you deliberately
not
giving
me
face?" She covered her face and explained to him that it was not that she didn't give me face. She really didn't do it and had never done it. I wanted to speak for her, but I didn't dare. None of us dared. The Lord was drunk, domineering, and arrogant. Even the people who came with him showed sympathy to Cece, but no one dared to persuade him. The slap was so hard that half of Cece's face was swollen. The Lord was drunk and pointed at her nose and asked, "I'll ask you again, do you want to do it?" I felt that he was so persistent not because he had to have her accompany him, but because he felt that being rejected in front of so many people and by a small waiter was a very embarrassing thing. You can't confront such a person, especially when there are many people around. But Cece is a student after all, with little social experience, and her mind can't be flexible, so she just keeps shaking her head. The Lord cursed, picked up the wine glass on the table, and splashed it on her face. The waiters on the top floor here are not allowed to wear underwear, just like the ladies, so that it is convenient for the customers. The wine flowed down her face, soaking her work clothes that were as thin as they could be. They stuck to her body, highlighting her perky and white breasts, and even her nipples were clearly visible. Her eyes were blinded by the wine, and she kept coughing. No one dared to take care of her. She could only wipe the wine off her face with her hands. It was so pitiful. The men in the room were all looking at her. I felt that those men could strip her naked with their eyes. I felt that something was wrong at the time, but it was too late. The Lord grabbed her arm and dragged her to the sofa.
Gah.
Really, we were all a little stupid at the time. This happened once before, also with a waitress. She was locked in a private room on the top floor. There were 4 or 5 men inside, who were said to be of some importance and were drunk as bastards. She had her period that day, and she knelt on the ground to beg them. But those beasts were like chicken blood, and they couldn't be stopped at all. I heard that they screamed like pigs being slaughtered at the beginning, but then there was no movement. When the men left, we went in to see her. She was lying naked on the sofa. We were stunned. There was a large pool of blood on the sofa. The manager took a look and asked a few security guards to take a tablecloth, wrap her up, and send her out through the back door. I heard from the security guard that she was taken to the hospital. She was seriously injured. She had a tear there and needed surgery. Her family was fussy at first, but it was said that those people compensated her with a sum of money, and the whole thing just fell through. Anyway, none of us saw her again after that. Thinking of that incident, I was panicking, and I was really afraid that the tragedy would happen again. The Lord pressed Cece on the sofa, ripped open her uniform, and her breasts popped out. Cece screamed so miserably at that time that my mind was buzzing with confusion. My heart was pounding, as if the person who was insulted was not her, but myself. I can't remember what she said, and I don't know if she was angry or scared. I just remember that she cried very miserably and screamed very loudly, but the music was very loud at the time, and the box was well soundproofed, so no one outside could hear it. The Lord pinched Cece's breasts with one hand and pulled her panties with the other hand, pulling them up to her thighs. Cece cried and screamed, kicking and kicking her legs. Her legs were straight and long, as white as milk under the light. The bald man sitting next to me was so excited that he kept pulling his tie, as if he wished he was the one throwing himself on her. Lord pulled her panties down to her ankles and started to untie his belt. While doing so, he drunkenly said to the people who came with him, "Take them all out. Wait for me in another box. I'll come find you guys when I'm done." I was pulled up by the bald man's arm. Cece saw me leaving and cried until her voice became hoarse. She shouted, "Rose, save me. Please save me. Don't leave, or call someone for me." My tears started to flow. I can't even describe how I felt at that time. She was so miserable, so pitiful. My brain got hot, and I knelt down without thinking. I kowtowed and said, "Please spare her. She's really a student. She doesn't do this." Before I could say a few words, I was slapped in the face. I still don't know who slapped me. Because it was so chaotic at the time, I was completely stunned, and my ears were buzzing, just like I was dreaming. Then the other men dragged me out the door. The door was locked and they turned and went into an empty box next door to wait for the Lord and ignored me. I was shaking all over, not just because of fear, but also because of a kind of spasm after the impulse. The other girls working with me tried to pull me up, and it took several attempts for me to stand up. The manager came over and asked what happened. I quickly grabbed him and told him the whole story while crying. I was so confused that I couldn't speak coherently. Who knew that the manager didn't get anxious at all after hearing what I said, but told us coldly, "Don't meddle in other people's business. You can't afford to offend the people inside." Then he arranged for us to go to other private rooms to work as prostitutes, and the other girls went obediently. But I didn't want to think about it. I told him that I was scared and couldn't go because it would offend the customers. The manager saw that my hands were shaking, so he didn't let me work as a prostitute anymore. However, he warned me not to meddle in other people's business and to stay in the lounge. I was completely stunned after hearing the name of a man. Although I knew that the man inside was definitely not a simple person, I didn't expect that he would be so powerful. With such a powerful person, let alone me, a young lady, even if the boss's sister was being oppressed by him, I guess our boss would have to bite his teeth and bear it. The manager finally said something that sounded profound but was actually quite nonsense. "This is Beijing. It's her bad luck. Just accept it." He left after he said that. I didn't dare to stay outside the box. It was useless to stay there. I could only stay in the lounge. I kept feeling that someone was shouting, and the sound was terrible, but I couldn't hear anything except the faint sound of hilarity. About 10 minutes later, a sister who worked as a hostess came to tell me that the door of the box was open and those people had left. I was stunned at the time, and she said again, Cece was fine, and that person didn't know what happened and let her go again. As she was talking to me, the door of the lounge opened and the security guard brought Cece back. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and she was still wearing a men's suit jacket. She cried and threw herself into my arms. "Rose, I was scared to death. I was scared to death." Later, I found out that it was the man who had been silent all the time who spoke for her, and the Lord let her go. It was then that I remembered that more than a dozen people in the room had left, and it seemed that he was the only one who stayed. Cece said that the Lord was very respectful to him. He also put the clothes on Cece and comforted her. I felt that he looked familiar that day. Later, I remembered that I had seen him and his photos on the internet. "Don't ask me who he is." I said that I dare not say it. "Let's call him Nan. Don't ask me why. It's just a random name." I was very grateful to Nan at that time. If it weren't for him, I don't know what would have happened to Cece. Of course, if I could have predicted what happened later, I would have hoped that he would be hit by a car and die as soon as he went out. Cece was also very grateful to him because in our circle, let alone being raped in a private room, even if someone was killed or robbed on the road, the police would just go through the motions, and in the end, most of the cases would be left unresolved. In the eyes of the police, women working in nightclubs have no self-respect and basically deserve to die. In addition, many people who come out to do this use aliases, and some even have fake ID cards, and their mobility is high, so sometimes they have no way to investigate even if they want to. There has been a precedent here before. A very famous case is that a very popular Oiran here was said to be murdered in her own home. The case has not been solved yet. I live with Cece. We share a small house with an average environment. Because of her part-time job, she cannot live in the school dormitory. And I am happy to have someone to share the rent with me so that I can save more money. I have been thinking that when I earn enough, I will quit and open a small shop in my hometown. This house is not heated enough in winter, and it is a bit cold. Fortunately, the rent is more affordable than other places, and the transportation is also convenient. Cece had always been weak. She was a little frightened that night, and the room was cold, so she caught a cold when she got home. I asked her to take some medicine, put a hot water bottle in her mouth, and let her lie down. When she took off her clothes, I saw several teeth marks on her breasts and neck, which were red and purple. I really wanted to cry, not just for her, it was a kind of sadness. Rich people can do anything, but Cece has always been a decent person, but she was treated like this. Cece couldn't sleep that night, and I couldn't sleep either, so we just huddled together in the same bed and talked. I told her, "Don't do this job anymore. It's not suitable for you. Find something else." She sighed and told me that she had done many jobs, such as handing out flyers, selling beer at bars, and working as a nude model in other schools, but the income was not much and not stable. Sometimes she didn't even have enough money to buy painting supplies. If she owed the school tuition, the school would not issue her a diploma. If she couldn't graduate, she wouldn't be able to find a stable job. She knew that working here was dangerous, but she had no choice. She also thought that this place was well known and that the guests of status would be more well-behaved, so she was hoping for the best. I said to her, "Rich people bully people regardless of location, especially people like us. No one cares about us when we die, so they will take us even less seriously. You got away with it today, you're lucky. What will you do next time you encounter such a situation?" I said this for a reason. I don't have any brothers or sisters in my hometown. After my parents died, my relatives didn't come to my side. I am a lonely person. If I eat enough, the whole family will not be hungry. But her life is even more miserable than mine. Her mother died when she was very young, and her father was very frivolous and went out to have affairs every day. Later, he died of cerebral hemorrhage, and she was sent to a relative's house. Her relatives paid for her education until she graduated from high school, but they ignored her as soon as she was admitted to university, leaving her alone in Beijing, trying to earn tuition and living expenses by herself. Life has always been very difficult. She looked embarrassed at the time and said she didn't know what to do. I said, "How about this? I'll go and beg the manager to change your floor. I can earn less in tips, but it's better than living in fear every day." She hugged me and cried, "Rose, I really don't know how to thank you. From now on, you will be my sister. When I graduate, I will definitely repay you well." I was really touched at that time. Very touched. I felt like I had a younger sister. We are all women like duckweed, living in this big city, without a home, without relatives, without support. What else do we have except taking care of each other? Later, I went to ask the manager, who was in his office at the time. He looked at me arrogantly with a cigarette in his mouth and said, "It's not that easy. The staff are fixed. If you change today and she changes tomorrow, it will be a mess. Can I take care of it?" I could only beg him with a flattering face. Brother, just take care of her. She is so pitiful. He looked at me and laughed. Why are you protecting her so much? You are not doing.
That.
Are you? The that he said was lesbian. I really wanted to scold him at the time, but I couldn't. I begged him shamelessly for a while, using all the flattering words I learned in my life. He finally gave in, blew out a smoke ring, and said, "It's not impossible. It depends on how you perform." Then he stared at my chest with his rat eyes. I knew at that time that this kind of thing was very normal here. If a lady wanted to sit well, she basically had to let the manager play with her for free. But I didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen to me in this way. I was wearing a halter dress that day, without wearing any underwear, and I could expose my upper body by untying the straps. When I reached behind my neck to untie the straps, I didn't know what I was thinking. My mind was blank. Really, I never thought I was a good person. I was the kind of person who wouldn't give a penny to a beggar on the street.
But I did it at that time.
Now, when I think back, I feel that I was impulsive and overwhelmed by passion. But I don't regret it at all. I don't feel proud or ashamed. I have already done it one more time or one less time. It doesn't matter. But Cece is different. I really want to help her. He didn't want to wear a condom at that time. He wanted to go straight in, saying that it would be nice. I said, "If you don't wear a condom, then I won't do it." To be honest, he has played with too many prostitutes. I am worried that he is sick. Seeing how determined I was, he finally put it on. He first tossed around on my chest for a while, pinching it with his hands and licking it with his tongue, making sounds like a pig gnawing at food. I didn't feel anything the whole time. After about half an hour, he held me and ejaculated. I got down from his desk, pulled up my underwear, tied my skirt, and fixed my hair. Suddenly, I felt a little cold, and I didn't know why. He wiped his hands with a tissue, and while pulling up his pants, he said with satisfaction, "After all, it's a sitting position, which is much tighter than a lying position, but the response is not as good. Have you been with women too many times and have no feelings for men?"
Fuck.
I really wanted to slap him at that time. Sorry, everyone. I suddenly feel very uncomfortable in my heart. I don't want to talk about it today. I feel very uncomfortable and confused. I want to sort out my emotions. I need to know how to face my past self and how to grasp my future self. If you know, please tell me. I was really surprised to see so many messages when I came online today. I thank those kind people for their concern and also answer the questions raised by several friends. First, let's talk about loans for poor students. Cece said that she did apply for it, but it is said that there are many applicants and the threshold is very high. Not every poor student can apply for it. And because the repayment rate is too low, banks have begun to limit the amount of student loans. I heard her say that this is roughly what she meant, but I don't know the details. In fact, in addition to student loans, there are also subsidies for poor students. Cece has this, but I heard that it is only 1 or 2,000 yuan per year. What can you do in Beijing? When Qin Hui was the boss of Tianshang Renjian, it was really tough. It's not Qin Hui, it's Qin Hui. First of all, the 5,000 medium-sized rooms and 8,000 presidential suites of Tianshang Renjian are all on the first floor, and the second floor is basically 3,000 small rooms. There is no saying that sitting on the second floor is more prestigious. Which year did you leave? 2007? 2008? Are you sure it's like this? Lateness and other things are fined at least 200 yuan. Lateness is not 200 yuan, but 300 yuan. If you are absent from work twice, you don't have to come. The courtesan who was murdered, as the poster mentioned, is Liang Hailing. She does exist, but the case has been solved. It was done by her gigolo. The case has not been solved at all. Many people in the place know that it was done by the gigolo. This is the rumor among the people. Of course, there are also those who have found their Mr. Right. One female colleague married a rich bachelor, and another married a husband who has achieved some success in his career. Both of them are now full-time wives. Putting aside the glitz of being waitresses in Tianshang Renjian, they are also gentle and considerate wives and mothers. I really haven't heard of this. Are you sure it's true? If you are a rich bachelor, would you marry a woman who has worked in a nightclub as your wife, even if she is just a waitress? As for the problems of college students, there are indeed some, but not all of them. Many of them are just self-made. Unfortunately, if the place is still open, the men who go there can ask the ladies to take out their student ID cards. Do you think she has the guts to take it out? Just this once. I don't want to respond to these irrelevant doubts. Like I said, just treat it as a story. This way I feel more relaxed. In fact, I have been hesitating today, thinking about whether I should continue writing. I really want to talk because it is too uncomfortable to hold it in. However, when I think about what I am going to say next, I am a little hesitant. But I still want to write it out, and if I say it out, I will feel relaxed and can face the rest of my
Life.
If you like it, please continue reading. If you don't like it, please leave. I never think I deserve sympathy. Sometimes I even despise myself. So, I don't expect sympathy from everyone. I just want to talk, that's all. About a week after that incident, I don't know how I was so unlucky and was asked to work as a prostitute by that lord again. But this time I didn't. I deliberately sat far away from Lord that day. I didn't know if he still remembered me. Anyway, I was very scared and worried that he would cause trouble for me. I played dumb the whole night. The man I accompanied was very well dressed and behaved. He let me drink and chat with him and occasionally touched his thighs, but didn't do anything too excessive. I finally waited until they were about to leave. The man was very generous and gave me a tip of 1,000 yuan. Then he asked me if I would like to accompany him that night. I said I didn't want to be a prostitute, and he didn't force me. All in all, he was quite gentlemanly. I just breathed a sigh of relief and wanted to stand up and leave, but the Lord suddenly said to me, "Hey, don't leave yet." I didn't dare to move and sat back down. I thought he was going to ask me about Cece, and I was scared, afraid that he would not let her go. But what I never expected was that he actually wanted me to perform without mentioning her at all. I was a bit confused at the time. I didn't know whether he didn't recognize me or he didn't take the last incident seriously. I was angry and scared, but I didn't dare to offend him. I thought, I'll just go out and pretend I was possessed by a ghost. He didn't take me to the hotel, but to a very beautiful villa area on Dingxi Road, next to Wenyu River. I was dumbfounded at the time. I had heard that overseas Chinese and celebrities and politicians lived here before, but I had never really seen it. This time I was really enlightened, but it was dark and I couldn't see it very clearly. When I think about it now, I feel like I was dreaming. The villa was decorated very luxuriously, but there was no one there. Later I found out that it was not his home, but at Mosta Hotel. Come to think of it, who would bring a prostitute home? After we entered the bedroom, he asked me to take a shower, and then he sat on the sofa and adjusted his tie. I went into the bathroom and was very scared. Although I was not a virgin, I was still scared, always worried that he was a pervert and would do something unbearable. The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. I didn't dare to go out after taking a shower, for fear of angering him. I had no choice but to go out. He had already taken off his shirt, and when he saw me come out, he told me to lie on the bed. I dared not say anything. The bed was very big, and I felt very cold lying on it. Although I have been a prostitute for quite a while, I can count the number of times I have been there on my 5 fingers. The first time I did it, I had just become an adult and hadn't yet come to the place I'm in now. A customer spent $5,000 to buy my virginity. There wasn't much bleeding, but I screamed in pain. Since then, I don't want to do it anymore. I always feel that there is a shadow in my heart, So no matter how much money the customer offers, I will not go out with him unless I meet a very powerful customer who insists on me going out with him. Then there is nothing I can do. Today, I really can't afford to offend people like him. He took off his pants and got on the bed and asked me to open my legs. I was a little confused at the time. I thought he would let me serve him with my mouth or hands first. Most customers like this, and rarely do it directly with a hard penis. The lights in the room were very bright, and I felt very humiliated at the time. But I still opened my legs obediently, and he put on a condom and pressed on me and drove straight in without any foreplay. I shuddered in pain. His thing was so thick that my lower abdomen hurt. Men always think that women's private parts are very elastic and can accommodate any size. In fact, it is not like that. If there is no foreplay, there is no body fluid lubrication, and it is very painful when entering, and it is astringent and painful, and it is also very easy to tear. He drank a lot that day and took advantage of the alcohol to fuck me hard, as if I was not born by my mother. I didn't dare to cry out in pain, and I was afraid that he would think I didn't respond and hug him, pretending to be excited. Maybe because he was young and strong. He was very energetic, and he didn't ejaculate even after changing several positions. Finally, he asked me to turn around and lie on the bed, a very humiliating position, and then he grabbed my waist and started to fuck me from behind. It is said that many men like this position, which gives them the pleasure of domination and abuse. When he finally ejaculated, I felt like my waist was about to break, my calves were a little cramped, and I felt a burning pain down there. He pushed me away, took off the condom and threw it into the trash can, then went into the bathroom. I lay in bed for a long time before I sat up. I wiped myself with a napkin on the bedside table and started looking for clothes to wear. No one would let a prostitute stay overnight, I know this. When I was getting dressed, I felt my hands shaking, and I didn't know if it was because I was tired or scared. When I was getting dressed, he had finished washing, and he only had a bath towel around his waist. He took out 2 stacks of bills from the cabinet and threw them to me.
I was confused again.
This stack should be 10,000 and 2 stacks should be 20,000. Although he is rich, he wouldn't be so generous, right? Then he said, 10,000 is for you, and the other 10,000 is for the waitress you begged for that day. You slapped her, and use it as medicine. I understood at that moment that this bastard remembered everything. But the expression on his face did not show any guilt at all, but was very calm and indifferent. Really, I always thought that I had seen men as bad and shameless enough, but at this moment I still felt incredible. I looked at the extra stack of money, not knowing whether to take it or not. Although the money was not much, it could solve many of her problems. Just when I was hesitating, he said a little impatiently, "Take the money and go away. Do you still want to stay here forever?" Which one should I choose? Money or dignity? Most of the time, I am not qualified to consider this question. I picked up the 2 stacks of bills and put them in my bag, whispered, "Thank you, boss." I turned around and wanted to leave. He called me again. "Wait a minute, leave me a phone number." I thought I heard it wrong. "Phone, your mobile number, don't understand?" He looked at me as if I was an idiot. Of course I knew he wanted my phone number, but I didn't understand why he wanted it. But I didn't dare to ask, and wrote it down on a sticky note. Then I escaped from that shivering cold place. When the wind blew after I went out, I felt my whole body shivering. My head was hot, as if I was dreaming, as if everything that had just happened was not real, but just a dream. I left the villa area but couldn't tell east from west, south from north, and could only see the bright streetlights. I saw a taxi and hailed it, got in, and went home. Now, when I think back to that night, I feel cold to the bone. Although he didn't do anything perverted, the contempt, the disdain, The cruelty and the indifferent expression when he mentioned Cece were really unbearable, and I even felt a sense of powerlessness and despair. They say that if you become a whore, you can't even think about being a saint. But prostitutes are also human beings. We don't steal or rob. Compared with those officials who show off their power with the hard-earned money of the common people, and those rich second generations and official second generations who bully people because they are rich and powerful, who are we more despicable? Later, I gave all 20,000 yuan to Cece. The income of a waitress is limited, and the school she attends is very expensive. She has always been short of money. Don't ask me why, I just wanted to do it at the time. I always felt uneasy with the money, and there was not much money. I asked her to keep some for tuition, some for painting supplies, and the rest for herself to buy food and clothes. She usually spends money and eats frugally. The clothes she wears are all bought at the zoo. She usually eats a bowl of instant noodles or noodles with soybean sauce. At first, she refused to take it. I told her to just consider it as a loan from me and return it to me when she graduates. Cece's eyes were red when she took the money. She said that no one had ever treated her so well since she was a child, and she must repay me in the future. Now that I think about it, was I really selfless when I helped her so much?
Of course I was.
I just hoped that someone would help me when I was in trouble in the future. If one day I suddenly disappeared from this world, there would be someone who would worry about me and be anxious for me. At least he could help me call the police and let the police know that I am missing. However, I dare not trust everyone. After being in the entertainment industry for a long time, I basically don't believe in anything that is alive. Take the ladies in this place, for example. We serve men every day, are bullied by men, and are also scheming against each other. Sometimes we even fight to the death. The mamas treated us like cash cows, and the manager treated us like chickens in his backyard. Except for a few top girls, they dared not bully us. If the rest of the girls wanted to survive here, they would have to be skinned alive by them. If you were disrespectful and disobedient, they would unite and torture you to death, often killing people without bloodshed. Even if you didn't make any mistakes, if you met a ruthless mama and you weren't very smart, you would still fall into her trap. What happened next was very vulgar, really. Now, thinking back, it was more like a trap. But in fact, there were quite a few such things in our place. I don't know if women who have worked in nightclubs can marry diamond bachelors. I have never heard of it, nor have I met one. But there are indeed quite a few who are kept by men. But I really didn't expect that such a thing would happen to Cece. And it was in such a cruel way. Thinking about it now, I feel that I was so stupid at that time, thinking that everything was over. Unexpectedly, a month after that incident, one afternoon when I came back from shopping, I saw a car parked downstairs of our house, and two people were standing next to the car and talking. It turned out to be Cece and Nan. Nan seemed to be saying something to her, but she kept her head down. The two talked for a while, and then Nan left. When I got home, I asked her, "What happened? Why did you come back with him?" Cece told me that he had actually visited her several times at school, and each time he just invited her to dinner, very gently and politely. She also felt that it was inappropriate at first, so she rejected him several times, but he became more and more courageous. Because he had saved her, she couldn't keep rejecting him. In addition, considering his status, she didn't dare to offend him, so she had dinner with him today. I asked a little worriedly, "He just invited you to dinner?" He didn't ask for anything else. Cece shook her head, but I knew from her expression that she was worried too. Cece was afraid that her classmates would know that she worked in a nightclub and that everyone would look down on her. But I was more worried. Years of experience told me that a man, especially a man like Nan, would not waste time on a woman without purpose. At the beginning, everything was normal. Nan went to see Cece every 2 or 3 days, took her out for dinner, and then sent her home. He treated her normally and did not do anything excessive. Sometimes he would give her some small gifts, which were small things that girls liked. They were very delicate and not too expensive, so people could not refuse them. To be honest, I was a little envious of her at that time, even a little jealous of her, and I felt that she was about to rise to the top and become a phoenix. So gradually, I stopped worrying about her. It was still the same, working at night and sleeping during the day. When I got enough sleep, I would get up to eat, sometimes go shopping, surf the internet, and then go to work at night. I was a woman without a goal, and I lived one day at a time. I seldom think about what the future will be like. I just think about how to earn more tips from those men every day and let them take advantage of me less. Although I don't work, I know how to do things and read the customer's eyes. More importantly, I know how to pretend and play various roles according to the customer's preferences. Once, a customer in his 50s with a beer belly said that I looked like his daughter, especially when I laughed. I hugged his neck and called him Dad, which made him happy. But that didn't stop him from pinching my breasts and thighs. After staying in this place for a long time, you will know that the so-called for young masters of Beijing are nothing. They are just a few nouveau riche second-generation descendants used by ordinary people for entertainment. They think that they are great because they have the halo of rich second generation and have hooked up with a few female stars and have some scandals. Real celebrities and rich men, who are from a particularly powerful class, all have their own small circle of friends that ordinary people can't get into, let alone let ordinary people gossip about their little affairs in bed. Just like Nan and Lord, who dares to bring them up? Whether it's reporters or police, they all know what privilege is and what circumvention is. Of course, we can't generalize. In fact, the rich second generation is not hateful. They don't steal or rob. They just have a better life than you. But the rich second generation who have no skills but like to pretend to be rich are quite hateful. Those who come to the place to play like that are basically the fat sheep of our ladies. The sisters are so quick to sharpen their knives. After a private room, they make a lot of money just from the commission of drinks. They order people around and feel very proud, but they don't know that we are scolding them for being stupid behind their backs. They look down on us, and we look down on them too. What happened next was very uncomfortable, but it made me finally understand what the calm before the storm means, and that the dog that bites doesn't bark. In short, suddenly one day, everything changed, and it was that accident that changed Cece's life. I remember that day was a Thursday, and Cece didn't come to work. It was her first time to be absent from work. I thought she was not feeling well, so I didn't take it seriously. But when I got home from work, Cece hadn't come back yet. I realized something was wrong, so I called her cell phone, but I couldn't get through, and her phone was always turned off. I became even more panicked, and I didn't know whether to sit or stand. I lay in bed in a daze, and I couldn't sleep well. At about 7 or 8 o'clock, my cell phone rang. I saw that it was Cece calling, so I quickly picked up the phone and shouted into the phone, "Cece, where are you? Why didn't you come back all night? You're almost worried to death." Who knew that the person on the phone was actually a man? Rose. "Cece is at my place. Come and see her." I was stunned at the time and stammered, "Who are you? Why is Cece at your place?" He said a name, and my heart skipped a beat. "It's over, something happened." I followed the address he said and rushed to a villa area. When I paid, the driver was still arguing with me. "This villa area is awesome. Do you live here?" I was very anxious at the time, so I just lowered my head to look through my wallet and nodded and said, "Yes, no. A friend of mine lives here." He immediately showed a disdainful look, as if to say, "Your friend is so rich. Why are you dressed so shabby? Damn it." How come people's eyes are as clear as mirrors these days? Even taxi drivers look down on people. Do they want to let people live? I paid the fare and got off. When I rang the doorbell, my anger subsided. What's there to be angry about? I am the same. When I saw Nan, he was sitting in the living room smoking, looking gloomy. I saw 3 scratches on his face, parallel and very thin, which could not be seen without careful observation. I was panicking, but I still had a glimmer of fantasy. Nan saw me coming, sighed and said, "Rose, Cece is in the bedroom. Please help me persuade her." The fantasy was shattered.
I still remember the scene at that time.
I ran upstairs and stood stupidly at the door. My heart was beating fast, but I didn't dare to go in, as if there was a bloody mouth waiting for me in front of me. I took a few deep breaths and made the worst plan in my heart. But when I pushed open the door, I was still shocked. The room looked like a crime scene.
There was a pool of blood on the bed.
Cece was naked. Her hair was messy like a ghost, and her head was bent.